Joe Knows South Lake would like to thank the following sponsors. My name is Joe. 20 years ago, my wife and I moved to Lake County with our 4 young children and settled down. In that time, we've worked, worshiped, played, and raised our family. Today, I've met the people and discovered the businesses and organizations that make up a vibrant, dynamic community. Join us as we share with you what makes South Lake great. I'm Joe, and Joe Knows South Lake.
Welcome, and happy Friday. As you all know, we're having a great South Lake morning as much as you can in light of our COVID situation. Look, Lake County is on a requested isolation order. Much of the state is on forced isolation orders. Many states, entire states, are on forced isolation orders. And it's all because of the COVID virus. I have brought on today. So today we're going to give you an update, much like we did with Congressman Spano about the economic situation. Dr. Maurice Marholin, a friend of mine I think we've known each other, Dr. Mo, for how long? A year and a half, maybe?
Yeah. That's what the chamber did for us.
And we've been trying to get him on and just couldn't find the right fit for him. And this is just perfect. I'm so glad he agreed to do this. And he has been so patient to help us deal with technology and to find a way to remotely do this so we don't all have to be in one room. I'm sure that makes both my wife and Jay's wife and Dr. Marholin's family feel much safer. So this is Dr. Maurice Marholin. I'm going to put my glasses on so I can read my own handwriting. He is the managing partner of the Marholin Medical Institute. He has been, he was a fellow, my notes are freaky, at the University of Alabama in clinical nutrition and behavioral medicine. He took his his bachelor's degree was at Florida Atlantic. My notes I can't even read. And where did you take your residency?
I did my residency at the University of Alabama also.
The University of Alabama also. So obviously, you're very well educated. You have experience in not only clinical, the clinical part of being a doctor, but it's kind of neat to have you here because your original education was in behavioral medicine, and that must give you. Say what?
Actually, I started my career as a chiropractor. I went back to medical school.
Great. So you actually have an entire view on things. I'm sure you've been helping your patients not only with the medical stuff, but with the psychological ends. But you're not here to talk about that. You're here to talk about COVID. So let me get started, all right? Oh, by the way, thank you and welcome.
You're welcome.
Dr. Marholin, what is the COVID-19 virus?
Well, that's the final naming of the virus is COVID-19. The CO means corona, the VI means virus, and the D stands for disease. And the 19 establishes that it was detected in 2019 in China.
Okay. So, but what is this? Is it a flu? Is it, is it influenza? Is it pneumonia? Is it, a bacteria? Obviously it's a virus. So it's a virus. Is it, so what is it? What can we mostly associate it as? When I think COVID-19, but what is COVID-19?
Well, COVID-19 has other features to it. It's a severe acute respiratory syndrome. It attacks the lungs primarily. It can also cause influenza. And these viruses can mutate. Even if someone eventually developed immunity to it, it could change and mutate into something else.
So it's a respiratory disease that causes the flu. It's not a flu with respiratory symptoms.
You're naming a lot of features that it has all in one blanket, but it's more specific than that.
I wanted to get this out of the way because a lot of people said, well, that's one of the questions. Why is it called the coronavirus?
The reason for that is when they look at it under a special microscope called an electron microscope, you have little prongs that look like a crown. I guess that's one of the advantages of being scientists. You get to name things.
Yeah, I guess so. First one discovers, right? How does
Mm-hmm.
it differ from the flu?
Well, it has a longer incubation period. Currently, there's no treatment for it. Um, it's more contagious. It also has an increased death rate, and it has receptors that attack the lungs specifically.
You said, let me see. So, what are some of the first symptoms we should look for? If I sneeze, should I freak out? If I have a little bit of a cough, should I freak out? What kind of symptoms am I looking for?
Well, I wouldn't freak out, but some of the influenzas are going to have similar things in the early stages. Fever, dry cough, fatigue. We're having a lot of patients come in right now, and look like an influenza. And if they get better, then it probably was. There are drugs for influenza like Tamiflu that you can take early on within 48 hours. If it progresses, then there's a chance it could be coronavirus, and they need additional testing.
Is that generally the way they're dealing with this? Are they treating it? If you first present with flu symptoms, are they trying to hit you with the Tamiflu to see if that helps, or do they test it right away?
If it clinically looks like the flu, that's a reasonable thing to do. Sometimes people have a bacterial infection paired with a viral infection. And then if it gets better, you know that it wasn't the coronavirus, or it could have been the coronavirus and it did manifest into full disease.
So, how many symptoms? What is there a list of symptoms that first present, or is it that flu? Is it that flu system?
It looks like a lot of things with the cough and things like that, the fever, dry cough, fatigue. Now, if it goes further than that, if you have shortness of breath or chest pain, or you have blue hue to your skin and your face and your neck, that's pointing very strongly toward more of a coronavirus infection.
Let me ask this too. We've asked about the symptoms, and is there a single symptom or combination of symptoms that I should sit up and take notice? I mean, if I have a cough, you said, well, it might be a bacterial infection, or I have a runny nose. It might be the flu. But is there a combination or one symptom in particular that I need to rush right out and say, hey, test me?
Yeah, shortness of breath and angina or chest pain and any discoloration in your face and neck, those are pretty ominous things.
Okay. All right. And how long should I wait once I notice the symptoms to call a doctor? Should I just wait a couple of days to see if it plays out, or should I be calling somebody right away?
Well, I would call right away, because if it's just an influenza, you can treat it. And there's a window of 48 hours to use the antivirals. If it's a bacterial infection, you want to get on it as fast as you can, because that can spread to pneumonia in the lungs from bacteria versus the virus.
I'm sorry, so that's call right away?
I would, because if it's something that can be cured, you're going to address it immediately. If it's coronavirus and you don't know until you manifest worse symptoms, then you've wasted time.
Okay, so let's say I've called the doctor, okay? Are you even allowed to deal with this? I know that you and I were having a conversation earlier that the CDC and the state have come down and started to say that there are some things you're not allowed to even let people in the office for anymore.
Well, actually, there's an executive order from the governor from last Friday that said if it's not urgent or emergent, we can't treat patients at this time. They're trying to restrict contact between people.
So it doesn't matter what they have. If it's not urgent, or I don't know what you mean by emergent.
Well, where you would decompensate or need, respiratory assistance or things like that. But I understand what they're doing with that. If you twist your ankle, I don't think that's an emergency. If you need a referral for something, that's not an emergency. So there's a lot of things that they've excluded. But if it's urgent or emergent, we still can see patients at this time.
What do you think? And so often the frustration for these isolations they all have a medical reason. Can you help us understand a little bit about what the point of that? I mean, even with the doctor, they're saying, look, don't go. What's the purpose of that?
Don't go see the doctor?
Don't go. If I have maybe if I have a little bit of a rash or an itch on my skin, like you said, a referral to something, that's not an emergency. What is the purpose of telling me, hey, don't go see for some of this stuff if you can deal with it for a couple of weeks?
Well, a lot of people are using telemedicine to get a better history from the patient, things like that. I mean, it's harder to document. You have to still generate a note. But if you're having symptoms, call your doctor and he'll be able to stratify the risk and figure out what you have. If it needs to be seen now or if it's something that can wait.
Right, but what do you suppose the purpose is for giving you restrictions? Is it to keep a sick person from getting a non-sick person, or to keep you available for the sick people? What's the purpose of that?
I think it's that distancing, that 6-foot distancing that's going to keep the virus from transmitting to other people. But I have to admit, I mean, we're on the front lines just like the hospital is. They just have better equipment, you know.
Yeah. You know, and I think people tend to miss that, you know, the doctor, how is your staff dealing with all of this? I mean, you know, you're obviously coming in and seeing people.
Yeah.
How is COVID affecting your practice? Are you having to take extra measures?
We are. We got probably the last batch of masks that were available. Anyone that comes in coughing has to wear a mask. We wear protective equipment, gloves, masks, and make sure that there's as little contact as possible.
So, you know, I wanted to ask that because it's obvious to a restaurant how it's affecting, but, you know, you tend to wonder, you know, well, the doctor and the nurse, they're getting plenty of work. Well, not necessarily.
Well, I'm working.
You're getting overworked.
Yeah, I'm working, but, you know, I hate to talk about the economics of medicine, but if you're not seeing patients, you're not billing and you're not generating revenue, but all my overhead costs continue.
Yeah, you're not on a salary.
No.
Have you been warned by the hospital yet? And we're going to get back to the COVID questions, but I'm just fascinated by this. Have you been notified by the hospital yet of a need to be all hands on deck or prepare for something like that?
We get daily notifications. I'm on staff at South Lake Hospital, which is Orlando Regional now, and they're giving us updates. They're very proactive. I think they're doing a great job about that. But really, they kind of separated the frontline doctors from hospital doctors. And I think we could take some load off of them, but people smarter than me are making these decisions.
Well, and they may not be at a spot where they need the load taken off yet. You know,
yeah. But we do get daily updates.
Good. All right, getting back to these questions. Once I call the doctor, obviously I'm going to get tested at some point if the doctor determines that there's a risk. Okay, you know, if I'm talking to you on the phone and you say, "Hey Joe, you got to go get a test," where do I go to get that test?
Well, this has been a strange thing for us. Ironically, the hospital does not have the test, and the health department does not have the test. The only resource we found in Central Florida is Advent Health, at their urgent cares, actually have the test, and we have to send people there. It would be more logical in my mind that the hospital would be the center for having the test, but that's not what's happening.
Wow. Does that look like it may change soon? And as part of your updates, do you get any updates on that?
We're getting updates. I'm getting updates from the hospital on staff, and they're daily. They update us and give us the newest information, but they don't have it.
Okay. Well, if I get the COVID, I mean, if it gets determined, if I find a test and I get tested, they determine I have it. How long should I expect to be sick?
Well, it can change. If you could pass it on your own with self-quarantine, or you could end up in the hospital. There's no fixed thing. It tends to be more virulent in the elderly. The young tend to get it less and respond better, but every person's individual how that works.
So it's going to depend on how drastically I get it, what some of my underlying conditions are?
Yeah, underlying conditions. Do you have diabetes? Do you have asthma? Do you have things that are going to work against you with this virus?
You know, you brought up the diabetes, and I heard something quite frightening about what they're finding out coming out of not just China, but New York City, now that America has some large centers of cases, is that people with diabetes seem to have an extremely high rate of mortality and a rate of extreme disease, of the severity of the disease. Is that something I can control? I mean, it's one of the reasons I'm isolated, because I'm diabetic / pre-diabetic, not quite there, but you know, it's part of what affects me. Is there some way? Should I be more careful? is there anything I can do to downplay that?
Well, I would maintain tight glucose control and eat healthy foods, antioxidants, anything that can help your immune system. But other than keeping it well controlled, there's not much more you can do as diabetic.
I'm so glad you said that, because I'm always encouraging people. It's never too late. Look, if you're isolating and you know this is going on, stop eating junk. That'll at least bring your sugar down. So if God forbid you get it, that gives you a better starting point, correct?
Yeah, the thing that's tough about diabetes, there's no cure for it. It's a constant battle that you never win. All you do is slow it down. There's no cure for it, and it's a battle. I watch people struggle with that because they have trouble with choosing the right foods and their diet, things like that. And then they have cheat days, and then their sugar spikes. Usually after holidays when they come back to their medicines, and I get the labs, and I'm like, the A1C is off the charts. Well, I was bad. Don't change my medicine. I'm back to normal. So,
it's one of those things when it doesn't seem important, but when you're in the face of something like this, suddenly those things get really important. And it's my honest hope that people as individuals in the country will change some of the things that we do. I mean, something like this says, hey, maybe you should be more careful. Maybe we should work a little more on our national obesity problem. Hey, look, Doc, we are good. I still have a bunch more questions. We're going to go to commercial break real quick. When we get back, for those of you that are watching, when we get back, we will still have Dr. Marholin with us, and we are going to ask him some more questions about the disease itself, how to protect yourself, some of the best things that you can do holistically while you're isolated to protect yourself. So we'll see you in a minute. Don't go away.
Joe Knows South Lake would like to thank the following sponsors.
Life is better when you're smiling. At Modern Orthodontics, Dr. Alan Wong has changed thousands of lives, helping patients achieve the modern smile with braces and clear aligners. Utilizing digital scanning technology, Modern Orthodontics creates in-office 3D models for clearly modern aligners. Modern Orthodontics is conveniently located in Claremont, Apopka, and Bushnell. Call or text us to schedule your free exam and create your modern smile today.
Your CBD store Claremont provides a wide range of high-quality, full and broad-spectrum CBD products. Topical creams, tinctures, water solubles, edibles, and even CBD products for your pets. From soil to oil, your CBD store Claremont sources and provides third-party lab tests for all products so that you know exactly what you're getting. Stop by your CBD store Claremont today to speak with one of our knowledgeable staff members to find the right CBD product for you.
Burgerum, located in the Epic Theater Shopping Plaza on Highway 27, is the premier destination for gourmet burgers. Using only the freshest ingredients, Burgerum offers a variety of burgers, salads, wings, and a whole lot more. Beef, chicken, lamb, fish, and even veggie. Burgerum has something for everyone, no matter your dietary preference. Burgerum, millions of possibilities, endless combinations.
Joe Knows South Lake would like to thank the following sponsors.
And welcome back. We are joined by Dr. Marholin, obviously because of the isolation requests from Lake County. We are doing our interviews remotely. Challenges everybody is going through to make their lives work. Dr. Marholin is talking to us about what COVID virus is, some of the effects of it, how we can protect our families. Let me get back to our questions. Let me see. How long will I be? When do I become contagious, and how long am I contagious for?
Well, you usually become contagious prior to symptoms, and in the first week you start manifesting symptoms that would match having that illness. But the exact duration is not known.
Let me ask you this: let's say I get, if I get it and then I get healthy,
you can get reinfected. You can get reinfected.
I'm not immune once I recover.
This is so new. There are always going to be people that become immune, usually with the new disease. But right now, it's possible to get the illness, recover, and then get reinfected.
No kidding. All right. Well, let's say I get the illness, I recover. Am I still contagious once I've recovered? I mean, do I become like a carrier for life?
You know what? It's so new. I'm not sure I'm going to properly answer that.
Okay. All right. That's reasonable. I'm sure that's one even Dr. Fauci would have a hard time with.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to get anything connected. If I don't know, I'll stay.
I want to say, too, real quick for the viewing audience, that Dr. Marholin has been very diligent about getting questions from me, about doing his research. And so I want to let you know, if I inadvertently ask him a question that he does not know the answer to, it's because there is not an answer to that question yet. Not that he doesn't know it, but that answer does not exist. So I just want to really appreciate, let the audience know, and I want to let you know on a personal level, I really appreciated your deep due diligence in this subject, because this is important to let the community know. All right. If I end up going to the hospital, or if I end up getting it, when will I have to go to the hospital?
Well, remember those severe symptoms we talked about: shortness of breath, chest pain, discoloration of the face, lips, neck. Those are severe symptoms that would require hospitalization or being examined by the hospital.
So it comes down to, if I'm having a real hard time breathing, I should probably be at the hospital saying, "Hey, I'm having a hard time breathing."
Chest pain, angina, discoloration. Those are.
Can you describe chest pain for us? Because a lot of us old guys, maybe we do a push-up, or I pick up a book too heavy, and I'm like, "Oh my God, is that chest pain?" Can you describe to us what we're looking for in chest pain?
Yeah, the thing that's tricky about chest pain is, and I've had patients with different things, it could be your gallbladder, it could be your heart, it can mimic other things. So I would err on the side of, if you develop any pain that's in your chest, I would go into the hospital.
So it doesn't matter if it's one little sharp pain or just a general.
Well, usually you get shortness of breath, but not always. It can be from referred pain from other organs. But if it's nagging, persistent, doesn't go away, and affects your ability to breathe in a cool, air-conditioned room, then that's something that really needs to be checked out.
Actually, I'm really glad you said that, because that is a thing we can watch for. If I'm in a cool if I'm sitting out in the sun and I just walked a half mile, yeah, I should have some shortness of breath. But if I'm having a hard time breathing in a cool, air-conditioned room, I mean, that's something that even those of us that aren't the brightest bulbs on the string can determine and say, "Hey, let me get set up." All right. What is the difference between self-isolation and quarantine?
That's a good question. Self-isolation is someone that has a communicable disease, and they're separated from people that are not sick so that they don't transmit. That's that 6-foot rule. Self-quarantine is used to restrict people that were exposed to a contagious disease, and then giving them a period of time to see if symptoms develop. That's how you separate those two.
Now, typically, is that quarantine, can that still be done at home? I know back in the day, in the 40s and the 30s, when people used to get things like smallpox or certain types of fever, they would put a sign on the door, stick a flag outside their house. Is there any of that going on, or is quarantine mostly done in medical facilities now?
No, most of it's done at home because there's a lack of medical facilities. There aren't enough hospitals. The president brought in FEMA to build hospitals and structures that are empty at this time, and he's trying to fit the demand.
Okay, cool. So let me say for the viewer, if you are quarantined, if you have illness, and you're not just so I'm taking to understand, excuse me, that isolation is what I'm doing and I'm healthy. Quarantine is I'm sick and I don't want anybody near me. Correct?
You got that backwards. The isolation means you've been exposed to it, and we're keeping you away from people that aren't sick.
Okay.
The quarantine is where you're being watched to see if you develop symptoms of the disease.
Oh, okay. All right. The point that I was going to make is, look, do the world a favor. Put a sign on your front door. I mean,
I'll tell you why I wouldn't do that. There's a lot of discrimination right now. There were people that might treat you differently, and for some of the other things I've read is that terrorists are possibly using this event and the infection to attack countries like us.
Wow, I hadn't even thought of that. All right, so forget it. Don't put a sign on your door.
Yeah, no, I don't think I would do that.
Let me ask you this. Can I get sick just by being in the presence of someone who tests positive? Is that what they call exposure? I was near somebody who tests positive?
Well, someone could test positive, and they may not manifest symptoms, but the virus is in their system. The other thing is the virus can live in the environment. Someone may have come by 15 minutes ago and left secretions on a table. You touch the table, and you get that infection.
You know, I wanted to ask you about that. Hang on. I wanted to ask you about that because there's seems to be a lot of controversy about exercising. You know, if I'm out walking on the trail and I lean up against a post that somebody touched an hour ago or half hour ago, but that's been in the full sunlight all day, is the virus still alive? Can the virus still live there? Or
I think it's hard enough that it would. I know that in our office, we're constantly spraying down when people get off the tables, which we did anyway. But it's like even when they come and sit in the chair in the waiting room, we're spraying with disinfectant. And it's like you're cleaning after each interaction.
All right, so be cautious. If you go out for a walk, don't touch stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Is there anything I can do non-medically other than isolation and social distancing to protect myself and my family?
Sure. Wash your hands frequently, the 20-second rule. Avoid carriers that you know. If you're sick, stay at home. If you cough, cover your mouth. Wear a mask and disinfect surfaces. You know, when my mother goes out, she wears a mask and gloves. And, you know, people might look at her strangely, but she's actually following the guidelines.
So, and that's actually a great question because I know that, and one of the questions that I have is, does protective gear prevent the average person from getting it? I know there was a while there that they were saying that only if you're showing some sort of symptoms should you wear a mask and gloves. But has that flipped? I mean, will a mask protect you from getting it?
Well, if you ever watch a sneeze with a mask on under high-speed photography, there are tons of droplets. There's a lot of droplets that pass through the mask. So people don't realize how violent the sneeze is and how it projects mucus and secretions out, even with a mask on your face.
So if I don't get it, will a mask help me not get it?
Absolutely. Well, it'll help prevent from getting it. You know, you need what's called an N95 mask or greater to actually have a very strong chance of preventing it. And those masks are not available at this time. I've got them on back order.
What about gloves?
Gloves, also a good thing because they had a clip on the news where this lady was orienting people on how to avoid the virus. She kept touching her nose and her face during the interview, and that's one of the things she's going to do.
Yeah.
So the gloves.
I know that even Vice President Biden was corrected for his coughing method in a recent interview. So, you know, people are paying attention. I did want to ask about the gloves because, and this is just a Joe curiosity thing, if I don't have, like, medical gloves, you know, but let's say I have, like, some clear plastic food service gloves, or I have cloth gardening gloves that I can wash every time I come home.
Well, cloth tends to hold on to different organisms, bacteria, and viruses, where the other are synthetic substances, and they tend to repel it better. But anything's going to help, but you would have to clean them every time after.
Like every time I came home, I wash them with some bleach and whatever.
Yeah, and that's what's happening with the PPE supplies. You use something, you have to discard it, and you're having trouble keeping up with the demand.
Because it's all disposable?
Most of it, yes. Some of my friend's an ER doctor, and he intubates people he needs a very sophisticated mask with filters that have to be changed periodically. So, I mean, because he's going down into their airway and bringing secretions up, so he's much more likely to be exposed than a civilian or just even a regular doctor.
Wow. Do exercise, fresh air, and sunshine make any difference? Because, it helps my mindset to get out of the house, to work in my garden. But does it actually make any difference medically?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. First of all, I think that's a great question and one that's probably underutilized. When you are forced to stay in your home and you can't go out and dine with your friends on the weekend, and we're in a pandemic, this is like of biblical proportions. People get depressed. And when you are out in the sun and fresh air, you're fighting depression. It suppresses your immune system. So I'm all for it, as long as you're 6 feet apart.
I did want to make a recommendation, too, that I don't know, maybe it's not medically sound. You'll tell me if it is that my wife and I, a couple times a week, try to open the windows in the house at night when it's cooler for an hour or two, and that it just gives us a sense that we've got fresh air in the house, and neither of us are sick, but still it keeps the air from getting stale. Is there any reality to that?
Mean that you could get infected more because the windows are open?
Well, maybe you could get infected less by getting fresh air in the house.
Well, I think it's that perimeter of 6 feet. If you and your wife aren't infected and no one's outside your door coughing, I think it would help you mentally. I mean, it's going to help you feel better and fight that depression that we're all in some way having to deal with right now.
Great. I have one more question. What are the 3 most important things I should know to protect my family from the virus? Are we back to the guidelines?
Yeah. Well, the personal protective equipment is number 1. The social guidelines about the distancing, and the CDC and government updates that you get every day. You get every day from the vice president, the president, in local news. Staying current, I get these things on my phone because I'm on staff at a hospital. But those 3 things are going to keep you with current information. And, not knowing how things are changing is how you can make a mistake. So I think those are the 3 most important things.
Is there a resource that we as an average person can get that kind of an update from the hospital? I mean, are they putting anything out for the lay people?
They do have a website, and they're very proactive about this, and they're constantly staying up with the most current information. So if you went on to ORMC or Advent Health and looked at their website, you're going to find things.
Great. Is there anything else you think we should know before we wrap up?
Yes, and I want to preface this by saying that I'm not a political person, but when I have to make a medical decision, I have to get a clearance from the insurance company, and I have to get this approved and that approved. So it's not like I sit in a room as a doctor and say, you need this treatment. And I think that our president is doing everything in his power. He's got doctors telling him to do ABC. He's got people that are running the economy. They're telling him to do things. If he did 100% of everything each of them said, nothing would occur. So his job is a lot harder than we realize, because if he does one thing different than Dr. Fauci says, or someone who's running the Fed, then it's like he's not listening to him. But what people need to understand is that he's making the best solution from everything that's occurring. No one's working right now. That's going to cause problems. Not following these guidelines medically are going to cause problems. I just want to say that as a person and as a doctor, I think President Trump's doing a great job.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. And like we supported the previous administration when the economy went into free fall, I think that there's certain value for all of us supporting the position and getting through the crisis as a nation. I want to say thank you so much for joining us. You really have been a help, and having those resources is just amazing. I think you've allowed us to get through a few of the myths and put down some of the fear. Hey, I want to say to everybody, don't get it when you watch TV, okay? Put on an old movie. You don't have to watch the news for 9 hours, all right? Restrict yourself to a half hour or a half hour twice a day, an hour once a day to watch your favorite program to get updates. Leave the rest of it alone. You have no power over it anyways, okay?
Right.
And that's one of the best ways you can protect your mindset during this time that we are really shut in. And I'd like to also say, well, I have some final thoughts. We'll go to commercial break. When we get back, I'll give you those final thoughts. Thank you so much, Doctor.
You're welcome.
Joe Knows South Lake would like to thank the following sponsors.
50 West, pre-leasing now in Claremont. A first-of-its-kind commercial development in the Southeast. Contact us today to reserve your spot in this historic development. 50 West, unique, quality, Class A. For more information on leasing, contact Ashley Punn at 407-403-4165. Karen Arlano at 407-948-0767. Or visit lease@50west.com.
Hello, my name is Michael Singh with Singh Insurance and Financial Services. Our goal is to build trust based on a clear understanding of how your insurance policy protects you, your family, and even your business. When was the last time you took a good hard look at your insurance coverage? Would you be open to the possibility of reviewing your policy with me? One review of your policy can save you valuable time and money. Call me today to set up a review of what may be available to you.
Joe Knows South Lake would like to thank the following sponsors.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. I want to say thank you for joining us. I want a great big thank you for Dr. Marholin and the Marholin Medical Institute. He pointed out that we can go to the website for Advent Health or Orlando Health. The thing that I would like to say is, don't let this time eat your brain. Okay, don't let this time throw you into depression. Next week, with any luck, I'm bringing on a mental health professional. We're going to talk about how to deal with some of the stress and the anxiety. I have Brandy Thunberg coming on Monday to talk about our healthy lifestyle, how we can make changes even in this time that carry us forward beyond the crisis. I want you to walk around your house and imagine how the elderly feel. One of the big things is, I'm not old enough to fall under the elderly qualifications, although my friends would disagree with me. But I am young enough to say, look, that may happen to me someday. What we are going through today because of a crisis, most of our elderly go through on a daily basis, just regularly. We have elderly in our community. Sit back, take a moment to write down what you're grateful for. Get some perspective. I was on Facebook yesterday and saw somebody who's in my thing. He was upset that he is stuck at his beach house and he can't leave his $500,000 beach house to go back to his $1 million home, and how he's going to lose $1 million this quarter. And I feel bad for his stress. I do. But get some perspective, man. There are people that don't know how to pay their rent today. There are people that don't know how their groceries are going to get bought. And not because they can't go get it, but because they're not going to have the money. Because they didn't go out and get tips this week. Because they couldn't Uber. So please, pray for your friends. Pray for your community. But get some perspective. And that'll be all I have for today. I want to say thank you for joining us. If you know somebody who should be a guest on Joe Knows South Lake, if you know somebody who has information to pass on, we have remote abilities now, so we don't need to bring people into the studio. Please let me know. We will talk about branding much more when the crisis is over, but you should still be branding here. And finally, I'd like to remind you that there's greatness inside you. And as Dr. Marholin and all of our health professionals across the nation are doing each and every day, using their greatness to bring out the greatness in others and help the nation recover, I want to encourage you that there is greatness inside you. And I encourage you to use that greatness to touch another life. Send an email, send a card through the mail, make a phone call, touch another life, and you will change the world. You may never see the change, but it will change nonetheless. This has been Joe Carlisle and Dr. Maurice Marholin on Joe Knows South Lake. I love you all. I will see you on Monday, and I love you. Bye-bye.
My name is Joe. 20 years ago, my wife and I moved to Lake County with our 4 young children and settled down. In that time, we've worked, worshiped, played, and raised our family. Today, I've met the people and discovered the businesses and organizations that make up a vibrant, dynamic community. Join us as we share with you what makes South Lake great. I'm Joe, and Joe knows South Lake. Joe Knows South Lake would like to thank the following sponsors: